So I don't think I've quite done a video on this one, like setting it up. I've done a couple videos using it. So RGBDS, basically it's the linker stuff for Game Boy that ROM hackers use for like Pokemon Crystal ROM hacks, Pokemon Red ROM hacks, kind of that are based on the disassemblies, for the more modern stuff, ROM hacks that there are out there that they make now. It's also what they use for some games for Gameboy Homebrew when they make it. So yeah, um, rgbds.gbdev.io. That's where you can find this page, and it's got links to different things. The big thing that you're probably going to be looking for if you're trying to set it up is how do you install it. So they do have pre-built binaries for a few distros. If you're running an Arch-based distro, it's in the community repo, or Windows, Mac OS, should be pretty simple to set up. Windows is going to take a bit more work because you have to install MSys, so it's kind of why I would suggest that you run Linux when doing Game Boy dev, because you can just install the package and go. So you do have a couple options for, like, again, what's already in the repos or in the AUR. And then you've still got other, like, builds as well. So they do have, like, building from source options as well. If you're running an Arch-based distro, which is kind of what I would recommend, there are a number of good ones now, then you can find it pretty simply. I have it installed already, but if we go and look for it, so I do have an alias that's set up, so when I type P, it basically runs the pacman command, but yeah. So RGBDS in the repos. And being as I'm using Artix, I do have the Arch Linux support stuff installed, so I have the access to the Arch repos as well. If I look for it in the AUR using Paru, it'll take a second. You see that I've got, RGBDS Git and RGBDS2, and then the normal one. So really all you're going to do, like it says, is follow the directions, maybe look for it, see if it might be in your repos. But being as it's not listed, I don't think it is in a lot of them. So I'm going to install the one in the community repo. That'll bring me up to date completely. I have my configs kind of weird, so that's why some things look the way that they do right now. But that's installed. So now basically everything should be linked properly. So you can go into a project, and where'd it go? Projects, Pokemon ASM. The only problem you might run into is if you're running it on a repo that's based on an older version of source code, then it'll turn out kind of weird. So if I go into here and I go in, I can go make, and it's going to error out because this code base is based on an older, was used in an older version of RGBDS. So you basically have to make sure that your stuff is up to date. On this one, so we just kind of make sure that our stuff is up to date. And then we can go make. And it'll make the stuff. And so now we've got a fully complete ROM. Blank. And so that's really the only thing you have to look out for, is to make sure that it's all set correctly and updated. And then you can build a ROM from RGBDS. So going back to the website, they've got a lot of helpful docs for a number of them. So they don't seem to be the most up to date with 0.6.1, but they do give you a good number of resources to go over. So let's see. Linkers, CPU instructions. So here's the list of instructions that you are going to use when writing your ASM code. And a lot of projects, like disassembly projects, actually make macros so that it does a lot of this so you're not doing everything manually. And so you have a easier way to check it, which is another thing that's supported, is you just run a function or macro and it'll do all those operations for you. So yeah, it looks like it has a bunch of tutorials for you to run. And then here's your documentation on the command line options. And you can see a lot of this stuff in already put together projects for various things. You can see where they've got the different uses of these programs in there. Unable to place. See if we go back to the home page. So one recommended thing if you're starting a new project is to take this hardware.inc file. It basically does a lot of, provides you with a lot of the variables that you can reference rather than using like using manual addresses. So it links different pointers to different addresses. Pointers. So it sets pointers for different addresses so that you've got something to reference rather than going through and referencing different addresses and so on manually. So you've got definitions for memory types and whatnot as well. And then, yeah, they've got a bunch of like starter kit projects as well. So going through, exploring the pandocs and things like that will kind of get you a good head start in this. But RGBDS can kind of be the biggest hurdle. And there are a number of people that do develop on Windows. Again, I just don't recommend it because it's a lot simpler to install it on Linux and then just set it up from there. It just kind of plug and go. If you enjoyed the video, then like, comment, subscribe, feed the algorithm, boost the video up, share this video with your friends. If you found it informative or you just want to chat, I've got plenty of places in the description, Discord, Guilded, and what have you. Check those out, and I will see you guys in the next one.